Remember the days when having one steady job was the ultimate goal? For our parents' generation, it was the dream. You get a good job, you work hard for 30 or 40 years, you get a pension, and you retire. Simple, right? But somewhere along the line, that dream started to fade. What happened? When did one job stop being enough for so many of us? That's what we're diving into today. This is the story of the turning point, the moment the side hustle went from being a quirky hobby to an absolute necessity. Let's rewind a bit. For decades, the social contract was clear. Loyalty to a company meant financial security. But then, the world started changing fast. The big shift really began gaining momentum in the late 20th century. We saw the decline of manufacturing jobs in Western countries and the rise of the service and tech industries. This wasn't just a simple swap. The new jobs that were created often didn't come with the same security or benefits as the old ones. Pensions started being replaced by 401(k)s, putting the responsibility of saving for retirement squarely on the individual's shoulders. Lifetime employment became a relic of the past. Companies started restructuring, downsizing, and outsourcing more frequently to stay competitive in a globalized market. The idea of a job for life just evaporated. Suddenly, your career path wasn't a straight line anymore. It was more like a winding road with a lot of unexpected detours. The ground beneath our feet was starting to feel a lot less stable. Then came the financial crises. The dot-com bubble burst in the early 2000s, and then the big one, the 2008 global financial crisis. These events were massive wake-up calls. Millions of people who thought their jobs were secure found themselves unemployed overnight. We watched as major, long-standing companies collapsed. It taught us a brutal lesson. You can do everything right, be a loyal and hardworking employee, and still lose it all because of market forces completely outside of your control. The trust was broken. Relying on a single employer for your entire livelihood started to look less like a safe bet and more like a risky gamble. People began to realize that diversifying their income wasn't just a good idea, it was a survival strategy. The seed of the side hustle was planted in this soil of uncertainty. At the same time all of this was happening, another major factor came into play. The cost of living started to skyrocket. And wages? Well, they just didn't keep up. This is a crucial part of the puzzle. Let's talk about stagnant wages. For decades, productivity in the economy has been going up. We're producing more goods and services more efficiently than ever before. Logically, you'd think that the wages of the workers making all this happen would go up too, right? Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case for most people. Since the 1970s, the gap between productivity growth and wage growth has widened dramatically. In simple terms, companies are making more money, but that money isn't trickling down to the average employee's paycheck in the same way it used to. So you have wages staying relatively flat. But what about the costs of essential things? Housing, education, healthcare. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities. And the prices for all of them have been climbing at a dizzying rate. The dream of owning a home feels further and further away for many young people. A college degree, once seen as a guaranteed ticket to a better life, now often comes with a mountain of student loan debt that can take decades to pay off. And a single unexpected medical bill can be financially devastating for a family, even one with health insurance. When your paycheck barely covers your rent, bills, and groceries, and you have these massive potential expenses looming over you, the pressure is immense. The math just doesn't add up anymore. That gap between what you earn from your 9 to 5 and what it actually costs to live a secure, comfortable life. That gap is where the side hustle is born. It's the solution people have created to bridge that divide. And just when we thought things couldn't get more complex, the internet came along and changed everything. This is the final, and perhaps most important, piece of the puzzle. The rise of the digital age didn't just happen alongside the economic shifts. It completely redefined the nature of work itself. Suddenly, the barriers to starting your own business or offering your skills to a global market were lower than ever before. You no longer needed a physical storefront to sell products. You could create an Etsy shop or sell on Amazon. You no longer needed to be in the same city to work for someone. Websites like Upwork and Fiverr connected freelancers with clients all over the world. Social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and right here on YouTube created a whole new career path, the content creator. You could turn your passion, whether it's gaming, cooking, fashion, or teaching, into a source of income. This technological revolution created a perfect storm. We had a generation of people who were feeling financially squeezed and insecure about their traditional jobs. They were disillusioned with the old model of work. And then, we gave them a powerful set of tools that allowed them to take matters into their own hands. The internet provided the platform, the reach, and the infrastructure to monetize skills and hobbies in ways that were previously unimaginable. It democratized entrepreneurship. The side hustle was no longer just about delivering pizzas or bartending on weekends. It became about graphic design, virtual assistants, social media management, online coaching, and a million other possibilities that could be done from your laptop on your own time. So, when we look at the big picture, it becomes clear. The turning point wasn't a single event. It was a slow, powerful convergence of forces. Economic instability eroded our trust in traditional employment. Stagnant wages and a rising cost of living created a real financial need. And the digital revolution provided the means and the opportunity. One job stopped being enough because the very definition of a job and security had changed. The old social contract was torn up, and we were left to write a new one for ourselves. And for millions, that new contract includes a side hustle. It's not just about extra cash anymore. It's about regaining a sense of control, about building a safety net, and about designing a life that's more resilient, more creative, and more aligned with our own passions and goals. This is the new reality of work. We're living in a completely new economic era. And a big part of this shift comes down to one thing: risk. Specifically, how companies have gotten really good at shifting their risks onto us, the workers. Let's unpack this, because it's a game changer for how we think about work and money. Back in the day, say, our parents' or grandparents' generation, the deal was pretty straightforward. You got a job, and that job came with a package of stability. Think of it as a social contract. You gave your time and skills, and in return, the company gave you a steady paycheck, health insurance, a retirement plan, and a sense of security. The company took on the risk. If business was slow, they still had to pay you. If you got sick, their insurance plan helped cover it. They were investing in you for the long haul. But over the last few decades, that contract has been slowly torn up. The global economy got more competitive, shareholders demanded higher profits, and technology started changing everything. Companies began looking for ways to be more agile and lean. And what's one of the biggest, most expensive, and least flexible costs for a company? A full-time, permanent workforce. So, they started innovating. But this wasn't technological innovation, it was a structural one. They began to dismantle the traditional employee model. Instead of hiring full-time staff, they started using freelancers, independent contractors, and temporary workers. This is the heart of the gig economy. Think about it from a company's perspective. It's brilliant. They no longer have to pay for healthcare, paid time off, or retirement contributions. They don't have to worry about severance pay if they need to downsize. They can scale their workforce up or down instantly based on demand, just like adjusting a thermostat. If a big project comes in, they hire a bunch of contractors. When it's over, the contracts end. No muss, no fuss. All that market uncertainty, all that risk of a downturn, it's no longer their problem. It's the workers' problem. This is what we mean by the new hustle economy. The risks that were once shouldered by large corporations are now placed squarely on the individual. You're no longer just a designer, a writer, or a driver. You're also the CEO, the finance department, and the HR manager of your own one-person business, You Incorporated. You are now responsible for your own health insurance, which can be incredibly expensive and complicated. You have to fund your own retirement, with no company matching your contributions. There's no paid sick leave. If you get sick and can't work, you don't get paid. Simple as that. There are no paid vacations. Want a week off? That's a week of zero income you have to plan for. And the instability is baked into the system. Your income can swing wildly from month to month. One month you might be flush with projects, feeling on top of the world. The next, it could be a ghost town, and you're scrambling to cover your bills. That constant uncertainty creates a huge mental and financial burden. The feast or famine cycle is a classic freelancer complaint for a reason. This shift has been so gradual, so pervasive, that many of us just accept it as the new normal. We retold that being an independent contractor is about freedom and being your own boss. And while there are definitely perks to that flexibility, we can't ignore the fact that this freedom comes at a cost. The cost is the transfer of nearly all economic risk from the corporation to the individual. It's not a coincidence that the rise of the gig economy parallels the rise of the side hustle. For many, a side hustle isn't a passion project or a way to get rich. It's a defense mechanism. It's a way to build a personal safety net where the corporate one used to be. Your 9 to 5 might not be secure, or it might not pay enough to cover the rising costs of living and saving for the future. So, you start driving for a rideshare app, delivering food, or selling crafts online. Trying to diversify your own income streams to mitigate the risk that your primary job could disappear or prove insufficient. You're essentially creating your own personal version of what a company used to provide. One stream of income is like having one big client. It's risky. So you add another and another. You're patching together the security that the old system used to offer. Let's look at the language companies use. They call gig workers partners. It sounds collaborative and equal, right? But are you really a partner? Do you get a share of the company's profits? Do you have a say in major business decisions? Or are you a partner in risk, without being a partner in the rewards? For the most part, you're a service provider whose relationship with the platform can be terminated at any time, for almost any reason, based on an algorithm you can't see. This isn't a judgment on anyone doing a side hustle. In fact, it's a testament to people's resilience and ingenuity. When the system changes, people adapt. But it's crucial to understand the larger economic forces at play. The pressure to have a side hustle isn't just a personal failing or a lack of good budgeting. It's a direct consequence of a decades-long trend of corporations de-risking their own operations by offloading that risk onto the labor force. So, when you see that ad promising you can be your own boss and earn on your own schedule, remember what's happening behind the curtain. You are being offered a job stripped of all its traditional securities. You're taking on the risks of a business owner, often without the autonomy or the potential for massive profits. You're not just earning extra cash. You're plugging a hole in a safety net that was deliberately dismantled. Understanding this context is the first step. It allows us to see the side hustle phenomenon not just as a collection of individual choices, but as a collective response to a fundamental rewriting of the rules of work. We've moved from an economy of stable employment to an economy of personal hustle, where every worker is now an entrepreneur, whether they want it to be or not. And that is a profound and risky transformation. Why are we officially in what I call the survival era of work? Let's break it down. First and foremost, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the economy. For decades, the traditional career path was pretty straightforward. You go to school, get a degree, land a stable 9-to-5 job, work your way up, and retire with a pension. Sounds nice, right? Well, for many people, especially younger generations, that path is looking more like a fairy tale than a reality. Wages haven't kept up with the soaring cost of living. Housing, education, healthcare. Everything is getting more expensive, while paychecks are struggling to catch up. That stable job? It's not so stable anymore. We've seen massive layoffs across industries, and job security has become a relic of the past. So, the first major driver for the side hustle boom is pure economic necessity. People aren't just doing it to afford luxuries. They're doing it to pay the rent, cover student loan payments, and simply build a financial safety net. A side hustle isn't just extra money anymore. For many, it's essential survival money. It's the buffer that stands between them and financial disaster if their main job suddenly disappears. But it's not all doom and gloom. There's another, more empowering side to this story. The rise of the internet and digital technology has completely democratized entrepreneurship. Think about it. 20 years ago, if you wanted to start a business, you needed significant capital. You had to rent a physical storefront, buy inventory, and spend a fortune on traditional advertising like newspaper ads or radio spots. The barrier to entry was incredibly high. Today, you can launch a global business from your living room with just a laptop and an internet connection. Platforms like Etsy, Shopify, and Upwork have made it ridiculously easy to connect with customers and clients all over the world. Social media isn't just for sharing cat videos anymore. It's a powerful and often free marketing tool. You can build a brand, cultivate a community, and sell products or services directly to your followers. This technological revolution has lowered the risk and the cost of starting a business to almost zero. It has empowered individuals to turn their passions, skills, and hobbies into legitimate income streams. The gatekeepers are gone. You don't need a publisher to write a book. You can self-publish on Amazon. You don't need a record label to release music. You can upload it to Spotify. This newfound accessibility is a massive reason why side hustles are flourishing. Now let's dive into the psychological shift that's happening. The traditional corporate structure can be rigid and unfulfilling for many. You're often a small cog in a giant machine, working on tasks that don't align with your passions or values. Your creativity might be stifled and your potential capped. A side hustle offers an escape from that. It's a space where you are the boss. You make the decisions. You set the vision. It provides a sense of autonomy and control that is often missing in a regular job. This isn't just about making money. It's about personal fulfillment. It's about taking that thing you love doing in your spare time, whether it's graphic design, baking, coding, or coaching, and turning it into something more. This creative and entrepreneurial outlet can be incredibly rewarding. It boosts self-esteem, teaches valuable new skills, and provides a sense of purpose that goes beyond just earning a paycheck. For many, their side hustle is their passion project that re-energizes them and makes the daily grind of their main job more bearable. It's a way to build something that is truly their own. Another key factor is the changing nature of work itself. The concept of a job for life is dead. People change careers multiple times throughout their lives. In this dynamic and often volatile job market, having a diverse set of skills and multiple streams of income is just smart. It's risk management for your career. Relying on a single employer for your entire livelihood is like putting all your eggs in one basket. If that company downsizes or your role becomes obsolete, you're left scrambling. A side hustle diversifies your income portfolio. It provides a secondary stream of cash flow that can cushion the blow of a job loss. But more than that, it diversifies your skill set. While running your side hustle, you're not just a baker or a writer. You're also a marketer, a salesperson, a bookkeeper, and a customer service representative. You're learning the ins and outs of running a business, skills that are incredibly valuable and transferable to any future career endeavor. It makes you more resilient, more adaptable, and ultimately, more employable. Think of it as a real-world MBA that you get paid to attend. Finally, there's a cultural shift. The narrative around work is changing. The hustle culture, for all its pros and cons, has glorified the idea of building your own empire. Influencers and online entrepreneurs showcase lifestyles of freedom and flexibility, working from exotic locations and being their own boss. While the reality is often less glamorous and involves a ton of hard work, this aspirational content has inspired millions to think beyond the 9-to-5. There's less stigma attached to having a side gig. In fact, it's often seen as ambitious and enterprising. People are openly talking about their side projects, sharing tips, and forming communities. This normalization makes it easier for others to take the leap. It's no longer a secret you have to hide from your employer. In many cases, it's a badge of honor. This cultural acceptance, combined with the economic pressures, technological empowerment, and the psychological need for fulfillment, has created the perfect storm for the rise of the side hustle. It's no longer a question of if you need a side hustle, but what your side hustle will be. We are truly in the survival era, where taking control of your own economic destiny is not just an option, but a necessity for thriving in the modern world. So, as we look around, we see that the reasons are multi-layered. It's about survival in a tough economy, yes, but it's also about empowerment through technology. It's about seeking fulfillment and autonomy that traditional jobs often can't provide. And it's about smartly diversifying your skills and income in an uncertain world. This isn't a temporary fad. It's a fundamental restructuring of our relationship with work. The side hustle is here to stay, and it's redefining what it means to build a career and a life in the 21st century. Thanks so much for watching. What are your thoughts on this? Do you have a side hustle, or are you thinking of starting one? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. See you in the next one.